think I threw out the whodunit thing once you introduced the idea of digitizing the man. Because if you, it's a weird.
You just restate back to me that that's fair.
But like, we can keep the whodunit, but I feel like the digitizing the man is interesting, and that's like a different mystery. It's not a whodunit anymore as much as it's like, wait, what's going on in this world? Welcome to StoryFellas, the podcast where we make stories and we break stories. I'm your host, Tommy Antonucci.
And I'm your host, Zach Lovelace.
Good morning, Zach. How are you this fine day?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good. The week is almost over, and this episode's almost over.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. It's been a good one. World record for shortest episode.
It's good, man. Life is good. Just balanced and maybe not so balanced. I'm burning I was telling you before we started recording, I'm burning the midnight oil a little bit.
You're telling me you stayed up late and then got up early.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do both, man.
But the good news is that this podcast requires little of me. So
little. I'm just scratching the surface of what is the true essence of Zach Lovelace.
No, it's the most developed portion of me that is the least leaned on. It's this giant portion of my brain that it just sits around and does nothing most of the time.
It is funny because I wonder, back when I was in film school, I had a friend, Ephraim, and I think it's him who said this. Ephraim, if you're listening, scream into your microphone and let me know if it was you.
Why does he have a mic?
What if he just he like hacked in right now? But I think we were just talking because we had to make all these shorts. Like, we had these due dates during our film program where it's, you got to get this done. You have to have this written. You have to have this planned out. And we were talking, I think it was him who said this, that this is the most creative, like the most demanding season where he's had to be creative consistently. I'm butchering that paraphrase, but it was an interesting thought because I was like, yeah, because we're all like worn out from using these weird creative muscles that you do not use to the degree. Like, creative muscles tend to be, you're making small talk and you're like, hey, wouldn't it be crazy if this, like over coffee? But to do it consistently for multiple hours every week, it's neither of us have majorly burned out. We could always take a break at some point. We're going to do in the future some episodes where we're not making stories, where we're more discussing topics and breaking down.
But no, that's one of the biggest draws personally to this, is that I'm using these muscles that normally are going to other people's work. You know, I work as a copywriter and I've got like 50, 60 clients I'm writing for. And it is mostly concrete and construction based. So I'm pouring a lot of my creative energies. There's a lot of fart jokes going into these clients and they're going wasted. They're wasted.
They're just like, I don't know if it's going to fit with our brand. And you're like,
farts are always on brand.
They're always on brand. They're always funny and people love them. I did have that thought last night as I was lying in bed. I was just thinking about how no matter where you work or whatever your brand, there's like all this red tape of what the brand is. And it's like, a lot of times it's like, oh, we can't do this or we can't break this rule, which is fine. I understand that. But I was just thinking, I was like, what if like my company, what if Mr. Beast just walked in the door and it was like, for some unknown reason, he's like, I want to work with you guys. I want to make you guys a commercial with me for free. However, I want to do it exactly how I want to do it. Would my company be willing to just shove all the rules to the side? Because it's like, that's a lot of exposure. Like, you can't just say no to that. Like, would you be like, okay, yeah, we're going to break all our brand rules to make a video with Mr. Beast because it's going to drive in so much traffic?
That's a great question. It seems so fantastic that I don't know if it would actually happen. Like,
I don't think it would actually happen, but it's just one of those things that I think I could see, depending on the company and depending on certain levels of standard or how precious they keep their branding. For me personally, like, if I had like some sort of thing and then Mr. Beast was like, hey, do you want me to make something? I'm like, cool, let's do this one-off thing. Because that's like, when are you going to get that chance again?
Totally. Well, it depends on if his audience is like overlapping with yours. Yeah,
that's true. If you're just like selling like, I don't know, Band-Aids. I was going to say Band-Aids, but it seems like him and his crew might get hurt a lot. So maybe it does have some overlap.
That's true.
But anyway,
all this to say, how is the host Tommy Antonucci doing?
I'm trying to hunt down Mr. Beast for a commercial now.
I wish I had a good Mr. Beast impression. He has like a very specific voice.
Yeah, he does. He's kind of just got like a normal voice.
Hey guys, Mr. Beast here.
No, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it.
You can just see my face though. You saw like the weird thing I was doing.
I could see your face before you did the impression. I was like, oh boy, let's see where he's going with this. You look like Fire Marshal Bill.
Very dated reference that most people will not get, but if you look it up, you will be rewarded.
Yeah, if you look it up, you'll be like, oh, that's what Zach looked like in that moment. Just like this weird dude. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm trying to not burn the candle at both ends. It's funny because it's easy. I'll do it in the reverse. We'll get up early some days and record. And then I find myself unintentionally staying up later because I'm naturally a night owl, and that's easier than the reverse of staying up late. What you did was a bad thing. Of staying up late and then having to get up. That one.
I know. I used to
call that
decision.
A clopening when I worked in coffee shops.
Oh yeah, I'm a clopener, man.
But no, I'm doing well. Experimenting with some video stuff and personal projects on the side. So that's always fun. I'm in a phase where, you know, when you're just interested in something to the degree that you're like, oh, I'll just do this in my free time. Like I'll just whittle away and fiddle with this thing. Like I'm kind of in that phase, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because working in video, there's a lot of the same old stuff when it comes to editing and stuff. But finding something new things that I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's nice to have that a little season of passion.
It is, yeah. Things aren't onerous on you yet, because that's the flip side to being creative. If you actually get recognized for it, now it's like, do that more.
Yeah, do more of that stuff.
Do that faster. Do that better.
Yeah.
I feel it a lot at work, where I'll be pulled into a meeting and like, oh, we need a creative in here. Get him in here. And it's like, and then you have to like give them the greatest line, like one line that you can think of. And most of the times I don't perform in those moments. Most of the times I'm like, I got to retreat. I'm a creative hermit crab. I guess a hermit crab.
That.
No, hermit crabs, they live in shells.
Yeah. You kind of need your isolation to cook a little bit and make something cool. It makes me think what you described. Have you seen Tick Tick Boom? Well, this is not I don't know. Are you wanting to see it?
No, I don't care.
All right.
Andrew Garfield, right? He's like playing.
Yeah, it's Andrew Garfield. He's like a creative. He's a playwright, based on a real guy. And there's this scene where he goes to, close your eyes if you're not one. This is not a major spoiler, but his friend's like, you should try this marketing gig, because he wants to be a starving artist, basically. But he's like, okay, I'll show up. And he shows up into this boardroom of all these business guys. And they're like, yeah, we need like clever jingles or rhymes for this product. And he just like spits out the first thing he thinks of, and everyone just eats it up. They're like, I've never thought of something like that. And like, and then he's like, it's this moment where he's like, oh, wow, they want to pay me well. And like everything I say is golden to them. And it's like this like very jubilant thing. And then they find out that the ad is for like some deodorant, and he like loses all of his passion. And he's like, oh, this is what we're talking about. And it's just like a interesting moment that's contrasting like the business side of creativity and the art side of creativity, and
they really
where they're connected, where they're different. But yeah, I don't remember how we got to this point, but
I think we're both doing well. And,
doing well, man.
Doing your creative projects, you're clopening, or I'm the clopener. You're just the guy who stays up late.
Yeah, I'll get up early, stay up late that same night, and then be super tired the next day, but then not get up early. So
I will be tired 2 days from now. I think that's usually how it works.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just get more and more tired as this podcast progresses, and by episode 100, we're like, hey, welcome back to the show.
I was even thinking, since we record it so early, and I know we've probably joked about it before, your opening, it's like, it's so quiet and soft.
Yeah, I know. We were going to record in the evening or in the afternoon or live at some point. I'd love to do a live episode in person at some point.
But you have to be really sleepy.
Yeah. I say live like with you.
Yeah, I know.
It'd be cool if we got big enough that people wanted to see this live too. That'd be neat. But I think we would have so much more energy I'm like literally waking up, doing a workout, and having my chamomile tea as I sit here, and then that's the first words. It's like, "Welcome to the podcast."
Yeah,
It sounds
exactly.
like it's. So I'll have to dial that up. Each episode, guys,
You got to
be
ham it up,
a little bit more energy from me.
Yeah.
Until it's just me screaming into the mic, Wild Tommy. It's our 100 episode anniversary screaming episode where we both just scream into the mic for 1 hour.
You need an hour of screaming. It's great for working out. So today we're going to go off of my list again.
Nice.
As we've done
I'm
in
excited.
the past. And I had mentioned previously that I had 2 mystery categories.
Mm-hmm.
And last time you chose the mystery category that ended up being unused titles that I have.
Okay.
And so we chose previous owner. You can go listen to that episode. I think we had one of our biggest laughs there at the end.
We laughed pretty hard. And it's funny because the subject matter is not super funny. But
that's why it was so funny.
The joke hit perfectly.
So I figured I would give you a chance to dip from the other mystery bucket today. So you have to roll a dice, Tommy. Wow, can you make a 31-sided dice on Google?
Yeah, give me just a second. I will do.
Can dice have uneven sides? Can they be uneven? Probably.
I don't know. Actually, wait. Maybe I can. Give me just a second.
If not, you can just go with 30.
A 30-sided die. That's not even a normal one either, man. Roll. Let me see if I can just search in Google and make it like roll a 30-sided die.
Yeah. It's also kind of a dice rolling podcast here. You're going to learn a little bit about how to roll some dice.
Yeah, I think you want. Hold on. I found a super manual one. You want 31?
Yes.
Run dice 30 side. Roll 1 times.
You could technically ask ChatGPT just give you a random number between 1 and 31.
It's too late. I'm already found this dice thing. It's my new favorite thing. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's actually like generating. It's like rolling.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry. There's a stop button. I did the stop. I'm like, it's going forever. 26.
Ooh, 26. All right, that's a good one.
Is this number of fart jokes we need to include in the movie?
No. So what you just rolled for was plot scraps, basically, that I have, which is not even a scrap, because a scrap I feel like has more tone and vibe and even maybe an ending associated with it, whereas this is just my notepad. I just gave numbers to my notepad. And
It's just a note where it says like birds with 3 exclamation marks.
Yeah.
You're like, what did I mean by this?
we got a weird one. I'll tell you that.
All
that.
right.
It definitely has some Zach Lovelace stink on it. So
Okay. Let's hear it.
it is actually one of the shorter ones, which is hilarious. And we could always roll again if we get to this. I know that's kind of against the nature of the podcast, but if you feel like this is just too weird, here we go. Student tells story of his dad killing a home intruder.
A student tells the story of his dad killing a home intruder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it says about me, but I feel like this immediately goes to comedy again. But that's just like
Because it's so dark. Like you just get to the shades and suddenly you're like, oh, we gotta brighten this up.
Well, I the way it's set up makes me think monologue, kind of, because it's like
You know me very well. You know me very well.
This feels like a short. This feels like a short because if it's actually it could be a feature, but I do picture it's narrated. We hear the kid narrating this thing, whether it's the entire thing's a monologue or it's like sprinkled Sandlot style throughout the entire film where he keeps coming back. And it's or kind of even like How I Met Your Mother, because obviously the home intruder thing is like a build up. It's like before we get to my dad killing this home intruder, you got to know something about you got to know some things about my family, and it's like you go into some backstory a little bit, and I do think what I went to comedy is just like it's kind of an embarrassing story. Like it's like not a cool thing, or it's like the dad like bumbly like
he accidentally kills a home intruder.
Yeah, he accidentally saves his family, but it probably makes more sense to be a bit more straightforward. Like I think if you were going to do a whole feature, having a whole feature build up to that feels a little crazy. I think it could be done.
That seems like it's a little too. You'd have to be very dramatic. I think if you wanted that to be your thing. And it almost feels like you can go a couple of ways. You can go the like Crash route, where it's like we get to see everything from the home invader's perspective, and then we go back and we see everything from the student's perspective, the kid. We see stuff from the dad, and it's like you ultimately are left on this note that's, oh, it was tragic. They kind of just misunderstood each other, you know.
Oh, okay. So it's like, okay, so we're like vantage point where you see the story from 8 different ways. I feel like that could be cool. I feel like that those movies have a distinct flavor, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like
that's my point. It's like that's definitely the I'm trying to think of like an off-putting ice cream flavor. A lot of people don't like mint chocolate chip.
Yeah, I could see, or maybe even pistachio. I don't know.
I love mint chocolate chips, so especially if it's green.
I think it's good. I'm also. I'm not talking about ice cream. I'm talking about the plot. I am just also interested in the idea of a super high level Chekhov's gun. Like it starts with it's like, my dad killed a man who came into our house. But before we get to that, there's more things you need to know. Like, you know, we're heading that direction.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting that like, no matter where the story goes, you know, it ends with the dad killing someone. And, which you can still have with the multiple perspective thing. It's just you're playing with a different aspect of your plot in that way. It's less anticipation and more like, oh, let me see the different angles of this prism.
Yeah, I think that's just if you wanted to we're basically deciding right now if you want to make this a big deal, or is this just like a thematic crystal that kind of emerges from the story. It's not the foundational piece. It's just, you know, a place where you see that kind of come out really clearly. I'm more of a fan of the the monologue style. This is, you know me.
Yeah,
I like
I know
my
you.
monologues. But because they tend to have like really good character voice, and they are like I keep using metaphors here, but they are like a lens to view the rest of the story through. Like, so it just makes thematic sense. So whether this was like an accidental killing or maybe his dad was like a guy that was always afraid of a home invasion and kind of like relished the idea. Like we're kind of deciding the theme through this story, and then we can think of the plot. We just know that we have a student, we have a dad, or even you could zoom out another whole level. It could be like a therapist talking about this.
Okay, yeah. Is your prompt a student tells the story? Okay, so that implies he's like telling it at a school.
Yeah, it could be a teacher listening. Like, it doesn't have to be the main character.
I feel like this is like a report. Like, this makes me think. Have you ever seen 21? That
the card counting. No.
Yeah, counting. That movie's set up loosely in that same thing where he's like trying to get into a college, and they're like, tell me an interesting story that is unique to you. And then he recounts this, like it's the bookends a little bit where he's recounting this crazy story of card counting. That's kind of the vibe I get where he is like, hey, Mark, it's time to do you're up for your oral presentation where you have to, and he stands in front of the class and it's like a dramatic, like pan zoom. And then we open with that line. It's like, he's like, when I was, I don't know, when I was 14, we had a home intruder and my dad killed him. But there's some things you need to know before then. I like that line a lot. I think that's interesting because it immediately sets up the stakes. Although unless you want to bury the lead a little bit, but like,
yeah, that's true. I think either way, we're just determining now on what part of the story that thematic little moment takes place. It's either helps frame the story or it'll come in and help highlight some aspect of it. Like if we did a whole totally separate plot about like teachers and school faculty and maybe them doing something shady or whatever, and then we have one of the students come forward, and it could even be like an elementary schooler, and it's like, what I did this summer, my dad killed a home intruder this summer. And it's like, what? And then you don't even know if it's real or not, like with the kid recounting it. You could play with so many of those aspects, but since I fed it to you, I'll let you decide in terms of location, who's saying it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting because it's so open ended tonally that it's interesting to kind of like figure that out.
Well, you immediately
So
went comedy, which I think is a good route. Like to go really dark, it feels like almost a pay it forward type.
yeah,
Yeah, we're making this the point.
yeah, like, and yeah, and I think I'm kind of, my mind's moved away from comedy for the time being. I'm feeling more like pay it forward is the exact tone that I'm thinking of,
Okay.
where it's this kind of story. It's just a completely different story if we do comedy. I think it can be done. I just don't know if we want to go that route. Because I feel like there's these somber moments where what I'm getting is there's some kid, whether he's young or old, recounting the story. Where most of the story is told in flashback. I like this kind of. It's not about that moment. Like that moment is the big finale in a sense. Have you seen Grand Budapest Hotel?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, spoilers. Cover your ears, guys, or skip forward 30 seconds. But how the bag boy is recounting the story to Jude Law, and then when like the main character, I can't remember his name, but the guy who ran the hotel,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
he's like they got roughed up by the police, and then Jude Law's like, what happened? It's like they killed him. And like that's like the punchline, like, or not a punchline, but that's the big climax. Like we don't see it, we don't hear it. Like that's the vibe I'm getting for this.
That's cool.
Where
Yeah.
it's not about that. Like we almost gloss over it. Like it's kind of coming. But then we hit it, and the story is about what's led up to that. It's about the father. It's
Yeah.
about the family.
It reminds me a lot of White Lotus. Did you watch White Lotus first season?
I don't think so. I don't
It's
think
a
I've seen
HBO show, came out several years ago. It's pretty popular now. Each season takes place at a different location and basically follows the same story, but different characters and stuff, which is that you open on like a casket at a really nice Hawaiian airport. And you meet all these characters, and you don't know which of them contributed to the death. You don't know who died. And so all of these plots, you're starting to think like, oh, is this person going to act on their jealousy, or this person's going to act on their anger in whatever capacity, and then finally it comes down to like, oh, it was this thing that caused that guy to die.
So it's a little bit of a mystery, a little bit.
Yeah, so you could play this idea like, okay, a lot of people have a reason to break into this house, but who actually did it, and who actually died? That's kind of an interesting mystery, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I think so too, because you can meet these characters that it's a little bit of a whodunit. And I love whodunits. I don't know if there's a way to dress this up, put on a trench coat of a whodunit and make it more in that, because that almost makes it also more digestible. Because a whodunit, like this sounds like a heavy, dark story, but if you put it in the as I said, trench coat of a whodunit, it's like, oh, people know how that works, and they're more willing to just be like,
we're making you a really big promise, and ultimately we could also lean on like the unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
The kid just doesn't know that the person didn't die, or maybe it's a faked death thing. If you really wanted to get into like whodunit territory, is very, Agatha Christie, like wild human behavior.
Yeah, that's
happens.
true.
Like people like, they do like 16 different things, almost anticipating the fact that they're in a whodunit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that might be a little complex for us to iron out in our hour-long podcast.
We've encountered plots like that before, where it's like, we know that you'd have to go back and forth and have like generally these things happen. So I think we could hit that kind of whodunit territory.
Yeah, it also adds a light comedy to it, like a dry comedy that's not your laugh out loud, raunchy
with big
comedy.
Characters. I think that the whodunit also has really big characters, like people that you hate, people that have like strong characteristics and strong motivations. So let's roll with it. Where does this take place? When does this take place?
I was actually thinking, if it's a whodunit, I feel like putting it a little older school, not modern day, could kind of help with that, because I think it just helps. Although Knives Out is modern day, and that works.
That's true.
I feel like cast of characters. We have the son. He is at some school.
Does he go to like a prep school? Does he go to like just a public school? Just co-ed kind of thing?
Yeah, I feel like a public school. Maybe he's in high school.
Special ed.
No, no, no. He's just a normal guy. Zach Lowe's. I see your face, Zach. You always love throwing random things in there.
I just wanted to get Tommy's reaction. I could tell you like clamped down. He tried not to laugh.
It's just because you always throw stuff out like that. You're just like, also this. And it's always like the same handful of things. You're like, no, not this time.
When are they going to fight though, Tommy?
When are they? Well, this is a whodunit with crazy characters. They're going to fight at some point.
That's
People
true. The dad
fight.
clearly fought somebody.
Yeah. That's the whole premise of the plot.
I got you, man. I got you.
You built it in. I'd say like he's in high school. I even kind of like him being in college. Like time has passed from this event.
Okay,
like maybe he's in college, but then he was like a senior in high school when this happened or something. Anyway, he's giving a presentation.
Yeah.
We don't have to give into the semantics of that. Where and it might even be funny where it's like just like this thing is give a family story, and then the person right before I called the guy Mark earlier. I don't know if we just want to stick with Mark. The person, like the girl before, tells some story that kind of wraps up and is really boring. And she's like, and that's why I always learned that I loved Mexican food. And then there's like a stifled, like one clap, like, and they're like, wow.
People
they're like, wow.
clapping.
They're like, wow, Sarah, that was riveting. Mark, we have you up next. And then he opens with, he's like, my dad killed a man. And then like it perks everyone up. It's like there's some things you need to know. And then we kind of go back and I think it's like immediately go back to like introduce this dad.
That's cool.
And it feels very whodunit at this point. I feel like it's all solidifying in my head where it's like we go there, we pan in, it's very stylized, and then we start introducing the characters. Like we introduce the dad, we introduce the mom, we introduce like
we can jump around too. We can show people at different times.
Yeah.
It's like my dad was a character and we see the dad like getting away from the police or something. Like, you show them in like an episodic type thing because he's a narrator. He can just jump around and say like, my dad was he was an arcade repairman, or whatever. Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. I was thinking his occupation, it helps us if his occupation is 1, prestigious, or 2, has a lot of face time with a lot of people. That the kid would also, because it's like this natural, like whodunit needs to have like a lot of people, around that 1, the kid will know and like recognize to tell the story, and 2, like because I imagine let's bring it back. So he's like in college, and just so that we don't have this like weird age thing. Flashback is like the kid's like 10, so it's like it's a different actor in this. It's a completely different actor in the story that we're telling. And then the dad has to be slightly, like he can be like jovial, likable to his family, but he has to be somewhat unlikable or have something people want. I think that's a lot of whodunits like that. Like he's kind of well off in some capacity. He's got something that people don't like that he has.
Well, they have to think about somebody who'd want to break in and steal something from him or even kill him. Those are the two. They want to take his life or the life of someone he loves, or they want to take something from him.
Yeah. And this is interesting because this is like a reverse whodunit because we already know that he doesn't. Well, maybe he does, but he kills the person who comes after him,
or who he thinks that person is. I think that's ultimately, like the real. We both have we're feeling blindly right now, but you know those types of endings that are like the story wraps up, but we as the omniscient participant in the story have knowledge that the other people don't, and it's like, oh, we know that didn't actually happen, or he killed the wrong person and it all got pinned on this one guy. I think that's actually really interesting.
What about the name Donald for his dad?
We're in like Donald Trump territory. The name Donald.
Sorry, I was thinking Donald Duck, but you're right.
That's just in the popular.
What about Donnie?
Okay, I'm fine with Donnie.
Or Don.
Don is great.
Don. I'm just firing
Mark
at the
and
hitman.
Don.
Mark and Don.
And then the wife is Angelica.
Angelica. Man, that makes me think of Rugrats.
Yeah.
No, that works. These are all tentative names, but I think Don needs to be... I think he's a good guy. I just picture him, he's like a very brusque businessman. Like he rubs people the wrong way because he's so forward.
I was thinking maybe a cop. Like okay. So either like chief of police, I think this is where I thought you were going before, but his dad being a reputable man. So this idea that he killed someone that broke into his home, not that that wouldn't hurt you because it's all self-defense, but like, who is it that around him? I think even like a mayor that actually would like tarnish him.
Yeah.
In some capacity. Or maybe not.
That.
Maybe not.
I feel like if it's in his home, it kind of defuses that. Like, especially a cop. Like, if someone's like, "Oh, the cop defended himself in his own home," it's like that's not.
Yeah,
I'd be like, "Good." Like that sounds like that's their job.
That's
so it
true.
doesn't. It kind of disarm. Like it. We can still tell that story, but I don't think it's like a gasp.
Making his dad basically this person that is the last person to kill someone, I think is interesting.
Yeah. So here's two hoops that I'm trying to get through at the same time, and let's see if you've got some ideas.
Okay.
I want to make him kind of, I don't know, dweeby a little bit, because I think that would really contrast with it. It's like he killed a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But then also like if he's kind of dweeby and meek, I need a reason that people would want to kill him.
Well, he's intelligent and he has some sort of, trust of some kind, or no, I mean that people don't. They could steal the deed or something like that, but that's real old school. Yeah, I stole the deed. It's mine now.
Yeah, that's how deeds work. That I always think that's really funny in old school cartoons where they're like, I am holding this deed. And it's like, that's not how anything legal works.
I'm watching you, Boris from Rocky and Bullwinkle stealing the deed here. Yeah, but something along those lines. Like, or maybe his dad, we could push it into like, I think Tommy territory here, where his dad is like an inventor.
Okay.
And
that's fun. That's
something.
That's kind of fun and wacky.
I'm honestly imagining Rick Moranis from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Okay.
Which is funny to think that guy, and like he killed a home intruder. Maybe the guy didn't actually die. He just got hit with the shrink beam.
Oh.
He totally disintegrated
that's getting
this guy.
Like crazy level, weird stuff. I do like the idea of him being an inventor and him having business associates, and like that also gives him a very colorful cast of characters that would work with him. Like maybe he's got designers to make his inventions
that's true
pretty.
Yeah.
He's got like the business guy, he's got the money guy,
the lawyer,
he's got all these people, and I also get the Ready Player One, the guy who built the entire video game that they keep referencing, like that vibe. Like he's kind of quirky, kind of Garth from Wayne's World.
Maybe a video game is an interesting thing that he created. Like it's not even an invention. An invention does push it into like we can get into Rick and Morty type territory.
Is this Sean Ackerman?
yeah, a little bit of a deep cut for the audience, but Sean Ackerman was the creator of Booger Man. Not really.
Not really.
But Booger Man is a Sega game that I played growing up. Very deep cut.
This is a very obscure.
We did a
sketch that Zach made where I actually play Sean Ackerman.
Yeah, a disgruntled
a video game guy. But I think that could be cool I think we could create a world where he has this information and they're like, people keep trying to push him. They're like, I don't know. Do you want to call him Sean?
Sure. Yeah, it's fine.
Oh wait, this is Sean. Wait, we had Dawn for him. We can call him
really
Sean.
like your on names.
Ons. They can only be on. Let's call him Sean because now that I already have that associated with that character.
That's fine.
So there's Sean, there's Angelica, his wife, and yeah, I'd say that they're kind of well off. They're rich. Like he's a successful game developer.
Yeah.
Like he's developing what's hot right now, and he's working on like the next version of that. And I think everyone at his work, and the kid sees this when he's 10, keeps pushing it. They're like, Sean, you should really like keep these also backed up at the office. Like, like it's safer if you do that. Like. Like kind of unanimously, like people are saying, like, and he's like, no, I've got like, you don't understand the level of security I have at my house, and the so then it kind of implies like multiple people want him to put this somewhere else that they could potentially access it.
What if he had like a VR thing that, because I'm working backwards, where there's like just a puddle of human waste essentially that people find, and like, well, this guy had to have been murdered. When in reality, he was like completely digitized. And this intruder now lives on like a hard drive that the dad has. I'm trying to go a little Black Mirror with it.
Yeah, this is getting like, yeah, no, I like it. I like it. It's like more fantasy level thing. And maybe that's the thing. Like I kept picturing that the him air quotes killing the guy was like towards the end, but maybe it's like the midpoint of the movie. And then there's like the aftermath of that. They're like in news, this video game guy kills a home intruder. And then the kid realizes that that's not what happened. Maybe there was something else.
Yeah, there's an interesting theme that is kind of going unspoken, but it might be good to put a point on it, is that confession is good for the soul. And this is how this kid, it's like wanting to get out. And he has chosen this like college prep, course essay thing with like the sleepiest teacher in class to like come out and kind of confess without saying it, what really happened.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And if the midpoint is Sean, do we want to say, does he shrink the guy? Does he digitize them?
I think digitizing would be the best way. I think shrinking him is very Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, digitizing I think is cool because then that implies that he's in the new game.
Yeah.
Like he's in the updated game. And maybe that's a point where the kid saw the home intruder, the guy break in, and then saw like a flash of light. Yeah. And then that person disappears from the workplace. They're like, this guy went missing. Well, that's the thing is, okay, so no one else knows that he killed this person. It's not in the news or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think it would be, it leaves too many open loops if they're like, oh, he killed him, but there's no body or anything like that.
Well, that's why I said there's basically he gets zapped and his consciousness goes into the thing. So his body is dead. And so, but he lives on. I think I'm all about setups. I'm a big setup guy. That early on in the opening credits, you see Mark walking around on campus. He's kind of a mopey guy, scrawny kid. He walks in on the like video game club or like the place, the commons area where kids are playing games and they're playing his dad's game. And they see like they're interacting with you. At the time, you think it's innocuous, whatever. And he's like, okay, this kid doesn't like video games, but they're like 4-player LAN partying it, or they straight up are playing online, or it's just one kid playing the game and he interacts with this NPC that ends up being the guy.
Yeah, dude, you keep on pushing this when the death happens earlier, because now I'm just wondering, does that happen like really quick in the story? It's like, hey, there was this home intruder, because like originally, if it's like the whodunit, it's all this build up. But now with this wacky world we're in, it makes me think like, does that happen quickly? Does that happen pretty quick in the story? There's a home intruder, flash of light, and we thought my dad killed the guy. And then the rest of the story is actually the kid talking about, he's like, that's not what happened. And like, it's like the story of him slowly realizing like, this guy in this game feels familiar, and maybe like creates a dialogue with this guy who's trapped in the game.
I think it could be earlier, especially if you set up the kids who are playing the games in college, so they're like, they're playing an older game. Like that kind of thing, where it's like we get together and we play this older game. And so his dad was a developer on like a PlayStation game. And so they're together still playing, and then they even say like, people still play this game, and it's like, yeah, it's a game that keeps on giving, or whatever. Like they don't make them like this anymore. I think adding another kind of Shakespearean wrinkle to it is that maybe it's the dad's business partner.
Okay.
That's who gets killed. And in reality, he's not actually dead. The dad has to keep him alive. He put him in the game. Like he realized that somehow, or maybe I think you have to have agency though, because the dad choosing to kill him is really important. But then realizing he killed somebody who he didn't want to kill, it kind of goes to the whodunit thing. And so he keeps him alive.
I'm trying to decide if it makes more sense for people to know he killed this happened, or if it's more like the kid knows he basically killed him. Like the guy just went missing, the business partner went missing, and no one knows why. But the kid, it's like I remember I heard his voice downstairs, and I saw the flash, and then that's more of the mystery of like it feels like, I don't know. It feels like almost we're giving the world too much if they're like, yeah, he killed him in his house,
totally,
and So I don't know if it's better if
You just
it's
need the story as it's reported, and then the real stories, which is what you're getting from the kid.
the
So
story as it was reported is the business guy just disappeared. Like no one found his car, no one found him. He just disappeared one day. And then that's as it goes. And then when life went on, they continue to make these games and stuff. This kid's story is like someone was at my house that night, like the night before he went. And he's like, and I heard his voice, and maybe you even saw him or something. And there's like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids-esque laser.
Yeah.
And then like he sees like maybe that's it. Like he sees the car outside, and he's like, huh, that's like that so-and-so's car. Like you make a point in the plot to like show off this fancy car. And he like kind of hears like some fighting and mumbling downstairs, and then like he kind of goes down, and there's a flash of light, and then he kind of goes down, and he only sees like his dad sitting at the table, or he hears his dad like run outside, and then he comes back up and he looks, and the car is just gone. That being said, like he digitized the guy and the car, and then he doesn't think much of it until like later this game comes out, and then he's like sees that car, that specific car in the game. And I like the idea that sometimes a reason people like playing this game is they're like, it's like it's always slightly different. It's like it's always changing. Like there's always, it's like I can't believe how many endings they put in this game, but it's changing because there's like a real person trapped in there, so that he's influencing aspects.
That's cool.
And then it's this whole mystery is like, oh wait, it's my dad.
It's like a pre-AI type thing, and I like the idea that thematically it's saying about AI that it actually still requires a human soul.
Yeah, no, I think that's, and then it leads to all this stuff of like the kid. Maybe we jump up ahead a little bit. Maybe he's in high school or something. I don't know, like how far, because if we're between him and at 10 and high school or college, that's a lot of time. And who knows, like the dad could be in prison at this point when he's telling the story. The dad could be gone, dead. I think it's interesting that the dad is not, I still picture him that kind of awkward video gamer. And at some point, if he has a confrontation with his dad, it's not like he was a bad, evil guy. He's just like, it shouldn't have gone that way. I panicked, and he was trying to do this. He was trying to close down the company and say this game couldn't happen. And I got mad, and like kind of has some regret about it. So he's not just like, yeah, I did it, and I do it again.
I don't think he ever would be like, yeah, I did it. I think, the business partner should really want something. They should both really want something, the dad and the business partner. The dad's more the idealist, like the game has to be this way. And the guy's like, I sold your portion of the company or whatever. Like the board voted, and like with my vote, we decided. And so then he's like, well, I'm going to kill you, and he's like, I'm going to go down to the board and we're going to vote. And it's like, well, if he never shows up, that's motivation for the dad to do it. But that kind of takes away from the spirit of the prompt, which I don't know if we mentioned that. That hasn't come back for a while, that phrase. The spirit of the prompt. I don't know if we said that, or it's in a dream that I had about StoryFellas.
I don't know. I don't know if we said that or not. So do you think we're deviating too much, or what's your thought?
Oh, no, I just think that kind of initial wrinkle of like a dad killing a home intruder, being like the home intruder wanted something, the dad killed him to defend himself. But we're getting into the dad, knew what he was doing. It wasn't an accident kind of thing.
I don't know. I feel like I'm moving more towards this. This wouldn't be the first time that we've like been like the prompt got us somewhere and we decide to break away from it.
I agree.
I just am not sure. The home intruder thing feels like it's harder to fit in there.
That's just to me was fundamental to the whodunit. That you give him like 5 people who are around him, and you don't know who's the one who actually ended up in the house.
Okay, yeah. I think I threw out the whodunit thing once you introduced the idea of digitizing the man.
Okay.
It's a weird.
You just restate back to me that that's fair.
But like we can keep the whodunit, but I feel like the digitizing the man is interesting, and that's like a different mystery. It's not a whodunit anymore as much as it's like, wait, what's going on in this world? Like the kid's like, why is this always different? Why does that car look familiar? And like him forming this dialogue with this dude. I have a potential title that I can save till the end.
Oh, save it to the end. Save it to the end. That's okay. I think just generally coming up with this plot is worth the price of admission and worth thinking about going forward. That it's very unique. Mm-hmm. And I think a whodunit that has to deal with a video game developer, all of that's cool. Mm-hmm. Like, and then the son maybe thinking he knows the truth, but in reality, again, the omniscient.
That could be interesting where he puts all this stuff together and he's like, my dad can put things in the video games. And he's like, my dad like killed that guy. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe he's telling this story and maybe there's a little bit more where it's like, it wasn't the dad actually. Like it was some other business associate came and like killed this guy.
Yeah. And the dad took the fall.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, there would have to be some sort of repercussion for the dad doing that. Like the dad has lost his share in the company. He resigned, which would make sense. I think the kid he's kind of like at a community college. He's not anybody important as opposed to like, oh, I'm Steve Jobs' kid or something. Mm-hmm. Not that Steve Jobs made video games, but I think the ending scene, and I always work my way backwards, is the kid sitting down and playing the game in the commons area. Like it's just sitting there paused or on the menu, and he gets up and he sits down and he plays it. And it's just like sits on him from far away, and you see him like pull it up. Or maybe you go further into the interaction he has with the game where it's like he starts talking to the guy who died.
Yeah, I feel like if he could do that, like if it's like Pokemon-esque, like it's just text, but it's like custom AI-esque text where it's like, are you Sean's son?
Yeah.
And like that would be really weird if it's like, and maybe it just happens. It's only that. I feel like it's like, it kind of helps if it was just Sean who did it because I think it gets in the weeds of like some other guy knowing how to use his like digitizing ray.
We need to like clean up some of the baggage. Yeah. So like if it was less of a whodunit, which is what you were saying before, like dial those elements back and just make it more mystery. I know whodunit is a subcategory of mystery, but it's like a murder mystery that we can just really zero. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking in circles. That is a whodunit.
Well, it kind of is. Well, like, yeah. And it's like, it couldn't have been my dad, but everything points to that. What if it was the wife? What if it was Angelica?
Oh, yeah.
She would probably know how to use his stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think if anything, she, what ended up happening, I thought of this plot while we were talking, that she starts cheating on her husband because, he's really into his games. He's just into these games. And it's a little hacky to be like, okay, the wife does this thing, but she regrets it halfway through. The problem is that the guy really started to it was predatory with his, like getting her to cheat on her husband because he's trying to get in on what she has access to. And so he like starts trying to blackmail them with this. And the dad, there's like an altercation and basically the man like stumbles into the game. Whoa, Jumanji style, I actually kind of like it. It's a Jumanji adjacent.
It is Jumanji adjacent. I feel like I'm trying to think. I pictured the wife as, I don't know, more business minded. Like she's kind of like what we get at the end is the person pulling the strings a little bit. She's the more authoritative. She's the more that, but you don't know that from the surface. And like, if you did that thing where it's like, the kid sees the flash of light. He sees the car disappear. He's like, my dad did this thing. He saw my dad ran out.
But it was really the mom and the dad.
But what happened was like the dad was like talking to this guy and the mom's like, you're not going to ruin what we've got going here. And then she digitized the guy.
Yeah.
The kid sees that flash. The mom makes it outside to digitize the car. And then the kid makes it around the corner just to see his dad running outside.
Yeah.
And then so it's like, then you have that, like, you have that switch at the end.
Or he follows his dad and sees him, like, push the car into the lake. I think something like that. Like, it's digitizing things is really clean. Like, no cop is going to be like, they digitized him.
Well, I think that's the point. I feel like I think I'm more abandoning the whodunit than you are at this moment, which is like, it's like no one knows. They got off completely clean. This guy just went missing and no one knows that they're associated at all is what I'm picturing, except the kid becomes aware when he starts realizing that, oh wait, this guy is in the game somehow, and then it's like this mystery of like, what is my dad inventing? Did my dad kill this guy? Is he push him into this game?
Because the story you would tell at that point, which is fine, is just that from the kid's perspective, you wouldn't have anything that would actually tell you that his perspective is a lie, or because he would only see what he knows. So we'd have to like break it a little bit.
Well, that's where I think him having him getting in touch with the game, like having like broken communication.
Oh,
with
you're
the
saying
guy
you bring that
game.
in. I was thinking that it's just the ending scene. You're saying just throughout the.
I'm saying that is what spurns the thing. He like realizes it, and then there's this very broken. He can't just be like, your mom killed me. Like it's like these little glitches in the game.
He has to have like something that he says consistently, like as a human, that then is said.
Yeah.
In the game.
Yeah, it's just like in the basement, or something. And it's just like, what's that mean? Like, I like that where he's getting digital breadcrumbs from this game that and I picture like a PSP or something. It's this game he has in his pocket, and he'll like reference it and see if there's like any any clues. But I like that idea where it's at this point it's just him, and maybe he has some friends or something. Maybe we give him like 2 friends or something that are helping him, but he's trying to unravel this mystery of like, what is this game trying to tell me? What is happening in this game? Which is definitely different than a whodunit, and I'm fine if we don't want to go that route. If we want to go more the classic whodunit route, I just feel that's really interesting to me, of like a video game mystery where you're getting clues from a video game.
It's essentially, I mean, we talked about it being Jumanji adjacent. It's essentially like from the people's perspective of somebody who got sucked into the game.
Yeah, it's like
it's just people on the outside. They're like, where did this person go?
Yeah, where did they go? Yeah, I like that a lot, because then it's like, you don't, obviously in Jumanji it's just like you come back at the same time that you disappeared, but what if you didn't? What if you're just in the game?
Yeah.
And then I know we're running low on time, but you could always explore, is it possible to get this guy out of the game? Is that not the point of the story? Is it more just this kid recounting this crazy story that happened in his life and him discovering
I think
what his parents were capable of?
I'm sensing some fundamental changes that would need to happen to, I think, obviously to follow what's really interesting about it. So we got into like the college essay thing as a certain aspect, but I think if we removed that and we just... It's fine to have the kid at college and him see the game being played in the commons area. I think that's actually an interesting, pretty subtle setup. And maybe he has like a video game class that he's a part of. They do that all the time now, like video game literature. And they talk about like his dad.
I like that. I like him befriending like a friend who is like, this is my favorite game. Like, I've read all the wikis. Like, he's like a super fan of the game. Where the kid is just like, yeah, it's my dad's game, whatever. And this, like, his buddy or like some of his friends. That's really funny to me. Of like, it's funny and cool. These like video game geek nerd guys like solving this mystery together. I think that's really neat.
What if we just removed the whole personal tie to it? Because I think that might actually be bogging it down from like what's really interesting about it. Like seeing a group of engineering geeky type guys try and solve a murder via a video game. And maybe the professor is one of the characters too. I think that's cool. Like a video game professor. And he's like, I worked with this guy, and I know, he's an old associate.
So you're saying just cut the familial tie. Like, he's not the son anymore.
Yeah. Which is like a really good tip. That, if you want to crank up the conflict, you make the characters more related. But I think it kind of jumps the believability thing. And it's holding us back from the characters being generally ignorant about it. Like, they know a mystery, and I think the professor can be the way into the past where he's like, this was my associate. And maybe we find out that the professor is actually not a good guy kind of thing. Like, he took credit for the game. Like, the professor is the dad from our original story. And so he's like, yeah, I made this game. And the one kid, main character, loves that game. But then they're like, oh, wow, it's great. I got chosen to be in this class with Professor blah, 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 and then they come to realize that he actually is a little bit of a fraud, and the real creator of the game is stuck in the game.
I love that. I love that. And it's like the creator of the game's technology that was used to trap him in the game.
Yeah.
I like that.
And they have to like get him out. And they get him out at the end, and the guy's like murderous. It's like Robin Williams from Jumanji. He gets out and he's like, what year is it? Yeah. And he's been like an NPC basically for 40 years. Because I imagine it's like a early 90s game. Or even like a PS2 game where it's like poly graphics.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've been killed trillions of times.
Yeah. If they pull him out of the game, do they pull him out of every version of the game? Is it kind of magical?
I think that
like
follows the rule. Yeah. Like I think.
Or it could be an online game. It could be made a little bit later where it's like a massive online game where he's just there for everyone to
That's
experience.
interesting. Yeah. I think you could kind of lean into the professor having been a developer on the game. And he's like, I have a tester copy. And the kid who's like jazzed about the game is like, I'd love to play it, and it's like, well, yeah.
I do like that where it's like there's one distinct copy or they find it, like they're just like AV Club, like exploring the thing, and then they like find this old thing in the professor. They're like, guys, we shouldn't be in the professor's office, and they find this game.
Yeah.
Like they're like, this is like a first edition, yada yada, and then they're like, we got to try it, and then it has differences. Then they're like, grab this. It's like the text comes as like, grab this game and run.
Yes.
Run. And then they like hear people coming. I like that a lot.
And the creator in the game has to walk them through like a surgery essentially of like how to get him out. And he's like, I've had however many years of time to like think through what you would need. And he's like telling them to get stuff that's super dated. So that gets them on like a little bit of a fetch quest.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting title. Just saying. But I know we'll talk titles in a minute. But I like this a lot because it pulls the agency and it feels relevant where it's like it's looking back at the nostalgia culture that we have going on right now, and it's taking a shot at the nostalgia where it's like if you go back and you look at it, it wasn't as good as you thought it was.
Yeah. I think that's cool. And it could be like maybe the professor, it's like he's a red herring because it's like, oh, he has the game. Maybe he's the one who did it, but then there's still this air of mystery of like who maybe did this to him. But I like this story a lot, man. I think this is really cool. It's
I
like
think so too.
Video game-esque mystery, and I think it leaves a lot of room to be kind of silly and fun at the same time.
Yeah, and serious. You could have like some real moments, but it does have more of the action comedy, action mystery comedy, whatever. I think maybe the twist at the end is that the creator did it to himself. Like he and the professor did it together because he had a like terminal diagnosis of some kind, where he's like, I don't think I'm going to live to see any of the success here. So I want to, we're going to try this out with this game.
I don't fully understand why he wants to leave the game then at that point. I feel like if
that's true. You would have to change
if he's
that.
pushed in against his will, then that gives him motivation too.
He's tired of being in the game. That's it. Okay.
He's like, it's boring. I thought it'd be fun to play this game forever, but it's boring. I made this game and it's boring.
Having played it again trillions of times, I'm very bored. Yeah, and the name of the movie would have to be the name of the game, I feel like.
Oh no, not the direction I was going. This might not fit anymore, but because our tone has shifted a couple times, but we'll see. But did you have an idea?
Outside of Fetch Quest, I haven't, which is just a colloquial term in gaming that you basically have to go collect things. Think of like Donkey Kong 64 or Banjo-Kazooie. I have to collect so many jiggies or bananas to then unlock a gate to then keep going. I'm just out continually finding things. The whole point of the game is finding things.
Yeah. The title I had in mind, which I think fits with a mystery vibe, kind of, is just the games we play.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Kind of
I
fun
like that.
because it leans heavy into video game culture. It also implies like this, I don't know, foul play a little bit.
Oh yeah. Foul play is a good one too.
Foul play. That's for our Chicken Run-esque story.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, our animated chicken movie. Foul play. I mean, they don't have to be chickens, actually, now I think about it. But
hold on, scrap everything we talked about. We're gonna pitch foul play in the
we're
last
burying
2
the
minutes.
lead so hard in this. Where it's like foul play.
Do you like the games we play?
I love the games we play. Yeah,
awesome.
That's a really good title for sure. Do you have an along the lines to kind of pump us into our final segment here, where you come up with a line from the movie?
Yeah, I was thinking I had a couple. It's funny because I think I had some along the way, but then we shifting the story a couple of times where I like where we landed, but then I'm like, these don't apply anymore. None of these lines work anymore. The one I was coming up with is this would be probably from the Sean, like he's communicating through the game.
Okay.
And he'd say something along the lines of, if you put a little of yourself into a game, it's kind of like immortality. If you put too much of yourself in it, it's hell.
I like that.
Something along those lines. Again, that needs to be ironed out.
That actually kind of explains a little bit of what we were just saying about why would he want out.
Yeah, because I think the first half of it, I think it's true. If you're going to create anything, you hope that a little bit of you is in there. Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, I live on through this thing. But then if all of him is in there.
And that's an interesting like sub theme on creation and like pouring yourself into something and it eventually kind of killing you. I'm mixing genres here a little bit, but ultimately Sean convinces the AV team, the video game club team, if I use like 15 words to describe them, the Stranger Things kids, basically, convinces them to pull him out of the game. They have to go to his body. And I know we said he got digitized, but maybe they didn't. And so his just rotting corpse comes back to life.
Oh, man.
Again, we're genre blending at that point.
Yeah, it only mentally like digitizes his like soul, basically.
Yeah.
But then his body.
Yeah, his consciousness.
It would be also, you could do, like his body would be long gone dead at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it would be bones. I don't know if it would be, unless he had it like, it was in his will to have it be really well preserved.
Well, like, so does he like get to his body and immediately die? Or do you think he's like walking around zombie mode at that point?
I like zombie mode. I just think it makes a really interesting third act. And it's actually really spooky. Where like we have genre shifted a little bit now where it's like full on horror where he comes back and maybe he's like, it's a little funny, but I imagine him in like a pitch black classroom and the professor, the alive professor guy, his friend or colleague back in the day, he's like comes in and he like sits up in the shadows and you see him and he's like, hello, Mark, or whatever the professor's name is. It's just scary.
It is scary. You made me think, and I know we got to wrap this one up soon, but if he teaches them, he either helps them recover something he built or teaches them how to build something he knows. And it's basically, I picture, if this was like an N64 cartridge, like he creates this like headband that like, they're like, now put it on your friend and we're going to test it. And then like they plug the cartridge into the back and then it lets him like control the body temporarily.
That's cool too.
And then it's like controls the friend, and then they're like you're gonna have to break into the morgue. I need a fresh cadaver. And then like that's funny because you got kind of like mildly zombie, but he's kind of like hobbling because it's like he looks like from the neck up maybe like a normal person, but there's like a huge gash or his arms missing and stuff. And I don't know, that's kind of funny to me if they can plug the game into like things and then he can have agency.
That's kind of cool. It's a little body horror-y where he like helps them create this thing that they plug into the spine, kind of like the Matrix, but then it has like an N64 cartridge where his mind is at, and it's like his mind is on 64 bits of memory here, whatever, and he's just, and they plug it into this corpse, and it's gross where they're like into the guy's back of his head, and then the cartridge sticks out and he just like chink plugs it in, and then
that would imply that he really only has control over the one body, where if it's like a headband or something, then they can keep switching it, which either could work. I do like the joke of like he kind of starts stuttering and one of the kids is like, oh wait, hold on, and they unplug the cartridge and they blow in it and then they put it back in and he's like, thanks.
That is funny.
I don't know, I like that. Dude, we keep on tacking one extra thing on, and I really like this story.
Then they fight.
Yeah, and then he's gonna fight someone.
The zombie guy fights the alive guy.
He's like, have you seen the Matrix where they download Kung Fu? I've got all of it in my
he's got all of the stuff that they plugged into the move set from the game.
Yeah, kick, fireball.
It's like, it's the most repetitive game set already. Or he kicks him. The professor guy's able to easily beat him.
That would be funny if he fought like an old school fighting game. Yeah. So it's like just the same style of kick. Like he's just kicking. He's like, why? Stop kicking me.
Factor this into the game. He shoots him. But yeah, I think that gives us a really fun, fresh third act
Nice.
where you unleash the guy back into the real world, and it's not what they expected, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's kind of kooky and kind of crazy, but also they're helping. Dude, we lily padded from so many stories.
Yeah,
but I love this one. This one's fun. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll come back and we'll not, no pun intended, dig a little deeper on this one.
Yeah, the games we play.
The Games We Play by Tommy and Zach. It's a fun one. It's a weird one, but it's fun. Well,
and to anybody listening, we'd love your feedback.
Yeah,
on any of these ideas.
Let us know your thoughts. We want to hear if you like ideas, if there's other ideas that you think could strengthen some of our pitches. If you want to hear
us go deeper with an idea too, if you want a part 2 on any of these.
Hey, we need a part 2 on this one. We need to hear more about this story. Let us know, because we would love to do that.
Yeah.
Just basically tell us what to do, guys. Just tell us what to do, and we'll jump.
We are your puppets.
All right. With that, that's all we have, and we will see you in the next one.
Take it easy.
Thank you all for listening to StoryFellas, a part of the Pemmican Studios podcast network. Check out our show notes for bonus material, links, and more. To find out more about our current projects, send us messages, and suggest ideas for the show, go to StoryFellasPodcast.com. If you liked what you heard, share the show with a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to grow this community. Until next time, go make and break those stories.